first, and I'd like to call the Metro Stormwater Management Commission to order. My name is Kabir Sandhu, serving as chair. May 1st, a couple of fun facts. Hitler's death, May 1st, formation of Great Britain in 1707, and the first appearance of Batman in 1939. So it's a pretty important day today, folks. So I wanted to recognize those events. With that, we want to kick off. It's a short meeting today, and we have one case on the agenda, but as customary, our business is to take care of our meeting minutes and decision letters. So we've received those on by email prior to, so I'll let anyone introduce a motion for amendment or approval.
I will say, while everybody's looking, I will be making a motion to amend. I want everybody to get an opportunity to make sure. On the first case on Hobbs Creek, I made a motion to deny that request that ultimately died because I didn't have a second, but it's not provided for in the minutes. So I just want to make sure that that ends up in there.
Okay. Logan's got a thumbs up on making that amendment.
But when my other commissioners are ready, I can make that motion, but I want to make sure you have an opportunity to look at it.
And of course, I'll have to abstain because I was not present, so.
Mr. Lewis was absent.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the decision letters as presented, and a motion to amend the minutes to reflect my motion on the first case that we had on the docket, with no other amendments.
Second. All right. Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, and then one abstained. Mr. Lewis. All right. With that, the first case on the agenda today is, Logan, if you'd help me with the description.
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me.
401 Center Street.
The applicant can come to the chairs here, and I'll let Logan introduce the case while you're doing that.
Opening statement to the applicant. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Stormwater Management Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the Commission's decision. You are advised to seek the independent advice of legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been satisfied. Case number 1 on the agenda is case 2025-00006, 401 Center Street at 401 Center Street. APN is 063-080-11400. Inspector is NPDES, Council District 11, Jeff Eslick. Applicant's request to allow 295 cubic yards of uncompensated fill within the floodplain. Appellant is Global Outreach Development International, represented by Scott Sherrod. Comments, Stormwater staff. Due to site logistics and overall relationship to floodplain area in this vicinity, staff would support this variance for uncompensated fill, but staff would request, if approved, that a no-rise is approved by staff and that the condition be applied that any/all future work on site secure plan review/approval prior to land disturbance or development work being done. Codes, no comment provided. Planning, no comment provided. Greenways is not requesting a greenway or greenway easement.
All right, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of how this will happen. You'll have 10 minutes to present your case. I'll give you a 2-minute warning. I'll actually ask you to first introduce yourself. There's a red button on the mic there to press to ensure that you're on. And then after your presentation, we'll close and we'll open it up for a public hearing. And if there's anyone to speak in favor or against, I'd welcome them one at a time to come to the podium to speak, and you'll have 2 minutes. And then we'll close public hearing and open it up for the commission to deliberate and have some questions probably back and forth for you. So with that, I'll let you make introductions, and I'll start the clock after that.
raise this up a little bit here. My name is Jeremiah Watson. I'm Scott Sheridan's assistant and helper on this job. The case here, or the project here, is essentially to put a small soccer field in behind a private school there in Old Hickory at the old Andrew Jackson, the annex. The fill is just to level that space. We will be doing a little bit of cut to pull that down, and then enough compensation just to level out the corner, and then rerouting and bringing in gravel and rock to deal with the stormwater as it gets rerouted around the side of that, to make sure there's no erosion, and a level spreader put at the end. As you can see, that's actually the space right there. It's not horribly unlevel. We have about 1.5 to 2 foot of grade change over that area, and we're just leveling it out so that the kids can play on it for soccer.
Okay, is that
That's,
presentation? Okay,
that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
okay, all right. With that, I'll close the applicant's presentation and open it up for public comment. Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against? If you could raise your hand. All right, great. I'll welcome you one at a time to the podium to speak, and if you would mind introducing yourself with your address and mic's on.
Yes, good morning. My name is Frances Pratt, and I am the owner of the property at 220 Capitol Street. And there's actually 2 lots there, but with the same address. And this lot, the 50-foot lot that I'm referencing to, is actually in the floodplain. And there is a little creek that runs through there. And anytime we have major rainfall, we get backup. Actually, it has actually backed up over into my house that is on the other property, into the basement of that house. So, and we've had this issue for a long time. And when they built the subdivision behind us, which is Cleveland Estates, that made the issue even worse. So I am very much in opposition of this, because we would be facing, the water will not be able to flow as it should in the creek that's there. It's actually going, if they fill that in, it's actually going to cause the backup even worse.
Thank you, Ms. Francis.
Hi, my name is Mabel Cockrell. I live at 4025 Main Street, and also I'm part owner of 217 Capitol Street. And I oppose the variance because the water does back up when we get rain. And I feel like anything to reduce the risk of flooding downstream, they should be able to put up a barrier to prevent that from happening. And for a soccer field, to request a variance for a soccer field, and it might increase the risk of flooding in a neighborhood where houses and property will be devalued because of the flooding. I oppose that variance. And also I have a picture of how the flooding affected. Can you put this on the projector, because I did submit this photo. This is the flooding in the back of my home during the flood of 2010. So I definitely oppose a variance for the global development Incorporation School. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cockrell. Tell me your address again, Ms. Cockrell.
4025 Main Street, Old Hickory, Tennessee, and 217 Capitol Street, Old Hickory, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
My name is Allie Henderson Fitz. My address is 821 Cleveland Hall Court, and I actually live in the subdivision to which Mrs. Pratt referenced in the Cleveland Hall Estates. My property sits right on the barrier of the creek that she describes, and so when it rains, I can absolutely tell you that water backs up to the bottom part of our hill. I have pictures that I can show you, but I can show you where that water comes up. When I had my home built, I elevated it a little bit so that way it doesn't necessarily bother, but you can see where that water rises. We have a fence there. That water rises there, and it has always risen there. There's not been a change in that. I've lived in this home since 2013. The property owner on the other side has built a shed, a fairly large shed, and I think that further complicates the flooding and the water. So I absolutely oppose any variance that would cause even further issues with water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson Fitz.
Okay, I'm Aubrey Pratt, and I'm the husband of Miss Pratt at 220 Capitol. Okay, you're planning on building right beside the creek, right? Up.
I assume you're talking the stormwater conveyance that runs down, crosses from Cleveland Hall, goes by Capitol, or runs right behind Hadley's Bend, between Hadley's Bend and Union, and then comes around the back of the school.
No, I'm talking about you gonna build up around the creek area.
Sir, if you don't mind, I want to give you your time to speak, 2 minutes, and then we'll have some questions back and forth. So
Oh, okay,
I want you to be able to
okay.
voice your concerns to us, and then there'll be an opportunity to learn more about this afterwards.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
I want to hear what you have to say and your concerns.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my concern is the same as my wife's.
Okay.
Okay, the water
Yeah.
backing up. Okay, we tried to do this years ago when Cleveland Hall was being built, but they still threw the drains right down into that creek. So it's going to back up if they fill in.
Understood.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all for coming today. I know how disruptive that can be for your day, so we certainly welcome and appreciate your perspectives on this. So with that, Logan, did we receive any other letters or comments from councilmen?
No, we did not.
Okay. All right. With that, I'll close public hearing and open it up for the commission to deliberate. One question to kick it off. It looked like work had already been done. Was this a violation, or how did this appear?
Yeah, there was some enforcement, not necessarily for the soccer field portion, but rerouting the wet weather conveyance, and some agricultural structures were built, and I think maybe some grading and associated with that agricultural use.
Okay, and then the plan was developed, and
Yeah,
there was a pre-app meeting, and
Yeah, this is a proposal. I think we may need to get some clarity again, just because I can't remember, but Jeremiah and Scott and multiple people have met out there with myself and others. If this is associated, if the request for an uncompensated fill is only associated with the soccer field, or if it's cleaning up some of the enforcement action too, I just can't remember honestly.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to rebuttal any of the comments. You have a good amount of time left. Is there anything that you would like to speak to with what you heard?
Yes, I also live in this neighborhood at 600 Hadley's Bend, so I'm fully aware of the flooding that happens in this neighborhood with the stormwater conveyance coming from Cleveland Hall and then routing down all the way through the golf course to the Cumberland River. It happens. This soccer field's top level is actually below the floodplain, so anytime the water rises to the point that it's actually getting up that creek, it's sheet flowing over the top of this. So it's not causing any backup additional to what's already existing there, because the golf course downstream has rerouted this entire area into like a 6-foot way causeway, which essentially creates a dam for flow to the Cumberland. This won't mitigate that problem. I wish it would. I would love to mitigate that problem, but it also will not increase that problem. That's why Logan has even requested a no rise on this to prove essentially that that stormwater will not rise by this backfill. So I do get the problem of the neighborhood, absolutely. And I genuinely believe, and with engineering backing, that this will not exacerbate that problem. It also will not solve that problem.
Before we go further, I do need to disclose, is this Global Outreach Development, the nonprofit that does ministry and missionary work?
That's correct, yes.
It's been 20 years, but I used to be pretty involved with this particular nonprofit. I have not been working with them in 20 years, but I did want to go ahead and disclose that. It's not going to affect my vote in any way for this particular matter.
I have, go ahead.
So I also live in the neighborhood on Lafayette. And I noticed, if you look up there on where those little blue kind of circles are on the map, I think at Center Street, I noticed last year that somebody came out and cleaned out underneath the bridge that's there. And since that time frame, the water level has been much better when it rains. Before that, it would back up past that between the two sections.
Those are culverts.
Yeah, culverts, yeah. So someone came out from Metro, I'm assuming Metro Water, and cleaned that out, which helped that flooding significantly after that time frame.
Okay, thank you. All right, open for discussion.
I have no doubt that a no rise would show no rise because it's pretty small in the floodplain. However, I mean, you've got no alternative site plan, which is a requirement. You got no mitigation plan, which is a requirement. You say you want to mitigate the problem, but you're filling when, I don't know why you can't lower the field 3 inches and not be here. And so if you want to mitigate, like you said you wanted to help mitigate, lower it 6 inches, and that provides more storage for this area that has a problem. I mean, can you imagine if this happened and you sent 30 dump trucks full of water to add to it? Probably wouldn't rise much, but I mean, that's what you're doing. You're displacing that much volume. So just lower the field and comply with the regs. You have no hardship. It's pretty frustrating. It's even submitted.
The only major reason that that's being set at that elevation is there is a sewer that runs through there, and there are manholes. So we've set the elevation of the field at the same elevation as the top of the manholes. So that's the reason that elevation is set there.
I don't know why you can't lower a manhole. I mean, that's not a hardship, especially if it's 3 inches. I mean, I doubt that they're minimal depth. You know, you're also building it in the right of way. I don't know if you've applied to abandon the right of way or gotten all the adjacent neighbors to.
We are the adjacent neighbors. We have all the land around that right of way.
But that's right of way. And so that's not what we're here to, look at, but I mean, that's a public right of way that's going through it.
Yes, we're aware. We have not abandoned that because in the end, it's a soccer field, so its ability to be transgressed, especially with there being a utility run through there. Even if we abandon the right of way, there will still be a utility easement that allows Metro to access that space. Like, it can't be developed outside of grass and dirt.
I see no hardship. I see no reason you can't lower it. I see an incomplete application. I'm ready to make a motion to deny unless anybody else has any commentary.
I don't. I think you've got a lot of opportunity to improve this area, and I'm in favor of Commissioner Fulmer's position on this. Hardship is something that we look at, and there's to have this disturbance and to have no benefit or mitigation. The manhole is not a hardship for this. So I'm sorry.
I agree. I was wondering the same thing as Mr. Fulmer about why are you elevating a sign that's already essentially flat, and you can just cut it, soccer fields, if it floods, it floods. That's not a huge loss, so. Yeah, so if it's already flooding, add more. So I'm in agreement. So do you want to make a motion, or do we have more discussion?
Yeah, no, I agree with the discussion to date. I do want to reiterate that it's hard to review an application when it's not complete, it's not properly filled out, it's not signed. I think that's the first step, and then actually reviewing it according to the regs, I think is the next step, so.
I mean, we do put a lot of weight in mitigation and request above and beyond mitigation for a tree being cut down, factors above and beyond. You didn't even give us a plan. I mean, the checklist has half the boxes empty.
Yeah.
I guess make a motion to deny.
With motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none? All right. Thanks. All right, with that, Logan, any other business to address in this meeting? Or will this be our shortest meeting ever?
Yeah, it seems pretty short. I'll be out at least the next meeting, so.
Congrats.
Kimberly's gonna take over.
All right, Kimberly in the hot seat. Looking forward to that. How long is that? It's been a while. When was the last time you were in the hot seat?
I'm always in the.
You are always in the hot seat. That is true. That is true. And we thank you for your service. All right, with that, any other discussion? Okay, all right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov. This has been a